Sam,
Hello.
hello. Can we talk about One Piece, please?
Finally. Finally. Ladies and gentlemen, it's finally happening. I've been saving for this occasion. I've got a bottle of champagne ready to go.
Let's do it.
We're talking about One Piece.
Right.
Okay, well, so why on earth, in the year of our Lord 2022,
Yeah.
in the 25th anniversary of One Piece,
Is that what it is?
why now?
25 years. Because I'll show you why. I'll show you why. See if you recognise
Oh.
this.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so-
That was a special gift.
This was a gift from Sam's girlfriend, Megami. Did I say that right?
Yep. Megumi. But
Megumi.
Yeah, sure.
Meg, for short. And she bought me, as a wedding present, she gave me a satchel bag. I don't know, what do you call it?
Yeah, just like a mini tote bag.
Tote bag, mini tote bag, drawstring bag. There we go.
Yeah.
And it's One Piece themed. And she sent me this because she knows me and Sam talk a lot about anime and a lot about manga and things. And
Oh,
One
that we
Piece
do.
is something that I have no experience with whatsoever. All I know is that it is one of the longest running mangas of all time, is in chapter form at least, and it's been
Yep.
going on for ages. And I feel like it's something that is very much in the zeitgeist. I see T-shirts in HMV and things with One Piece characters on. There's loads of merch. It seems to be very, very popular. It's one of the big ones, and
Definitely.
I've been thinking for a while now that I wanted to start reading manga, and I thought, what
Mhm.
better opportunity? Basically, I just decided One Piece because I thought it'd be entertaining. It seemed fairly fun, and my thoughts going into it were very much, this is a fun ride with some... do you know what? I actually thought it was going to be more serious than it was. You're right.
Really? Yeah, I was just checking my audio levels and I realised that I had the fan blowing right next to it, so there's probably going to be a bit of background mugginess there, so apologies for that.
Oh well.
But it should be
People will get over it.
Good.
Yeah. I think I expected a lot of substance with this, and I'm not saying there isn't any,
Mm-hmm.
but I felt
Interesting.
something with this longevity and something with this much popularity. I thought it would have something about it that really engaged everyone, and I wasn't expecting it to be as whimsical as it is. I wasn't expecting it to be as sort of light-hearted and bouncy as it is.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that it doesn't have its deeper moments and its intense moments as well. But yeah,
Definitely.
I don't think I would have ever predicted the plot line and the storyline. Despite the link to pirates, I didn't really expect it to be a pirate-themed show for some reason. I don't know. It's just an unusual.
Okay.
It's just an unusual world, and the characters and
Very.
the story is very unique and very sort of, I think obviously this is going to be full spoilers. The whole Gum Gum power stuff, the Gum Gum fruit,
Yeah, the devil fruits.
the devil fruits. That whole idea is bizarre and really.
Oh, yeah.
So that happens in the very first episode, doesn't it? We get the whole premise of the show. First chapter. Sorry, yeah, got to get the lingo right.
Get the lingo down. He's new to manga, folks. He'll get there.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, I've got nothing to compare it to, and reading the manga, I enjoyed it. There were some bits, and I don't know whether this is like just One Piece or this is manga in general, but there was quite a lot of frames and moments that I thought were sort of a bit clunky and a bit sort of, maybe the dialogue was in the wrong place, or like it didn't really, the weighting of the conversations sort of missed beats and things. I don't know. I'm not going to list specific times, but for something that is so popular, I thought there was a bit of clunkiness that pulled me out of it a little bit, where I was trying to figure out what they were saying, and it might just be a language barrier. I don't know.
Yeah, like maybe a translation issue. But one of my first questions with you in
Okay.
regards to taking on this undertaking, and you mentioned it a bit in terms of the kind of the flow of the panels and stuff. How have you been finding it going from right to left and
Oh,
following it that
fine.
way?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely fine.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. Yeah, you adjust fairly quickly. I think the only time it becomes an issue is like either right at the end of a chapter or right at the beginning. Just yeah. But once you're in the flow, I think it becomes second nature. Um,
Mm.
I did. This is my first proper new manga, but being a big Death Note fan, I have
Yeah.
read the first few books of that. So and I
Oh,
had the
so you
paper
are
copies of
kind of
those. So
used to how the
I knew that
panels,
was
how you're supposed
and
to follow it down the page.
Shonen Jump tells you if you get it wrong anyway. If you
Oh,
swear,
every time I still get that notification.
yeah,
I sometimes boot up the app or like on a Monday morning, ready to read my brand new chapters, and I'll open it. I'll go to swipe the correct way, and they go, whoa, 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 there,
yeah.
you're reading the wrong way. What the hell do you think you're doing?
Who are you?
Get
Yeah,
ba- get back the other way. I know that you've read 200 chapters of this My Hero Academia manga, but I'm gonna tell you again. You're going from right to left. Okay, okay. Jeez,
yeah.
Shonen Jump. I get it. Your
Um,
artistic integrity is intact with me.
it is good. Yeah, no, it's fine. I don't know if we've.
Nice.
So we are just focusing on the first 25 at this stage because that's all I've read
Yeah.
up to. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I wanted to do it in chunks, especially the videos and the
Yep,
reviews,
break it
because
down.
I didn't. Yeah, chapter
like
by
arc
chapter
to
might
arc.
be a bit. Because that's
Bit tedious.
something else that's really interesting about manga is some chapters are literally just a fight scene, and
Yep.
that to me is so bizarre because obviously I'm just used to episodic stuff where it's got a beginning and an end and it's got like some narrative purpose, and you know the fights do have
Even
narrative
Death
purpose.
Note tends to, even Death Note tends to go through and be very much the beginning of the chapter and the ending of the chapter. There'll maybe be a cliffhanger, but it's very much a contained arc of stuff. Whereas
Right.
now that you're getting into the battle shonen
Yeah.
genre of manga, sometimes an entire chapter will just be two speech bubbles of I'm going to win, no, I'm going to win, and then 15 pages of just them beating the tar out of each
Yeah.
other.
Which is interesting having fight scenes done like that, and it makes me want to watch the anime because I would love to see it play out in visual form.
That's
Because
how we get 'em,
obviously
boys.
some of it is just frames and frames, and when I read it at the time, I didn't dislike that. I enjoyed reading it, and it didn't seem weird. It was just, I mean, I read comics as a kid. You know, you not
Yeah.
anime and nothing sort of, not even like Marvel or anything, nothing like intense. But you know, you read
The
comics.
Beano.
The Beano, Simpsons comics, yeah, the Dandy, all of the sort of regular, sort of
Yeah.
once a week sort of stuff that you get at the supermarket. And you know, so I know, I understand. You lose yourself in, just like with reading a book, I guess. You lose yourself in the story. If the story is good enough and it flows well enough, you lose yourself in it and you fill in the gaps so that it doesn't become
Yeah.
jarring. However, when I was making notes for it and going back over those particular chapters, I was like flicking
Yeah.
through them quickly, and you're not in it in the same way. So it's
Yeah.
just like, oh, these are just a load of pictures of fight scenes. I wonder what this is like in anime, and I think some of them would be incredibly impressive. If
So
done right.
with that,
Yeah.
on your first go through of these chapters,
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what kind of manga reader you are.
Okay.
When you were going through the first few chapters,
Okay, so the different types of manga reader. Okay, right, interesting.
Yeah, are you like? Do you just focus on the word bubbles, and so you just kind of read and then glimpse at the picture and then move on to the next bit because you want the story, the dialogue,
Right.
the bits like that, or do you find yourself taking more time looking at the picture, so you really kind of take in the entire panel?
I think that's
Like, you
really
read the
hard to
dialogue
be
and then you'll really look at it.
objective about that. I think in my head, I will focus on the speech for the most part. It depends because it's hard to know what you're comparing it to. Everyone will do. It will be on a scale, right? Everyone will. Some people will only look at the speech and completely ignore the picture. I don't do that. You take in the characters who are talking and you take in what's there. But I wouldn't say I spend loads on unless it's like a big piece or a
like a double page spread or something.
Well, even just like a you can tell that the artist has spent some time on the action shot. Like if it's just people talking, I'm not going to really focus on that. I don't think because
Yeah, just kind of gloss.
yeah, there's not that much to it. But if you can tell the artist has taken time to do a particular action shot or something like that, I'll take it in and I'll enjoy that for what it is. I think I'd like to think I do. It's hard to say really,
Okay.
and it probably comes and goes depending on what's happening in the story. But yeah, why do you? What would you say? I think you definitely take time looking at each panel.
Honestly, I'm kind of the opposite.
Really?
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll stop on a double page spread, or
You-
again, like you a really
Yeah,
detailed panel.
yeah, because
But
something
a lot of the time,
I was going to say something that you often bring up and talk about is like the quality of artwork and the quality of the artistry in manga and print, and even in animation. You'll talk about like the level of detail and how things look aesthetically, and I think knowing that about you, that's why I figured you'd at least spend times on the artwork and things like that.
I think a lot of people get surprised when I talk about that because for example, when I was reading through Chainsaw Man the first time through, I blitzed through that super quickly, and I think it's because when I see an image, I'm just kind of like, yep, cool, that's done.
Yeah.
Like I understand the purpose of that image. There might be a million other things to it, and like more intricate details that are hidden away and Easter eggs and stuff. But what I really value, especially when I'm reading manga, and especially more recently whilst reading One Piece, is after the chapter comes out, I'll then go into discussion forums and threads, and I'll go through and people will say, "Oh, did you catch this in this panel?" And then they'll link to it, and you can see bits like little details that you missed, stuff that maybe I wouldn't see by myself just naturally because of the way that I read. Maybe my brain is just rotten and I have no attention span.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think we're all guilty of that.
It's interesting.
How do you? So
but I've got other friends who will sit there and they will pore over it. Like it's a 17-page chapter, and they will spend half an hour reading it.
Yeah.
They will go over that intricately, bit by bit by bit. Whereas with me, I can pick up a volume of a manga. Like I remember when I used to get the new Naruto releases or the new One Piece releases, I would sit there, 1 hour, 10 chapters, bang them all out, read through, and I'd be like, this was the greatest experience of my life. So I'm still getting stuff out of that, but I'm not maybe.
I think there is a part of
me
me
until later.
I think there is a part of me that likes to linger on stuff to make the most of it. Like you know that it's only a short chapter, so you sort of take everything you can from those images to just make the most of what you're reading and spend some time with it. But it's a bit off topic. But like when you read books normally, like some people skim read and read really quick and get the sort of gist of what's going on, but maybe miss some of the detail. I'm the opposite of that, and I read every sentence, and if I don't understand the sentence in its entirety, I'll reread it, and it takes me a while to read books because I hate to miss stuff. Right. Even audiobooks, if I miss something or I've zoned out, I'll go back, and I'll go back, keep going back until I've listened to it and I haven't zoned out, because I like to think that I've got the full picture and I know the rich depth of the story they're trying to tell. And I think every sentence in the book, and I imagine every frame in manga, or I think I translate that to manga a little bit in that I think every sentence in a book is important. It's there for a reason, and the author has decided to put that there for a specific purpose. I think
same with a manga.
I'd like to think the same with a manga.
There for a reason.
However, knowing our conversations, I know there's a lot of filler, and I know there's a lot of, especially in anime and stuff. So I don't know if that's the same rule.
Manga's a bit of a different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
It's more because of the way that manga is structured and the way that Shonen Jump operates as a magazine. Trying to include things for a specific purpose is much more difficult because often authors are flying by the seat of their pants, just trying to get the next chapter out before the next deadline, which is 1 week.
Yeah.
So usually, and you see this a lot with a lot of shonen, there's usually a really strong opening 10, 20, 30 chapters. Okay. And then after that, it's like, oh, we didn't expect to get this far. Okay, what do we do? Okay, extend. And the
okay, so is this what I've got to expect with One Piece then? No spoilers, I guess. But
I would argue that without spoiling anything, you're currently hitting the 25 chapter mark, so you've just reached Usopp's Island, which I would argue is the first kind of big arc,
Interesting.
really.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
It-
so let's get back to what we're actually talking about, and that's One Piece. We've got Luffy as the
Set
main.
sail for One Piece.
I don't know. I don't. They don't have the OPs in in the manga, unfortunately.
It's a crime.
Yeah. So we get this concept of built up in episode one, chapter one
I'm just
of
going to keep doing it. I'm going to start a tally.
yeah, of what's going on here, and we see Luffy as a child. We see him want to be a pirate. He's got the typical protagonist mentality. I'm gonna be the king of the pirates. I'm gonna, and you know, we get to know about the treasure from what's he called, Gold
The
Roger.
One Piece. Gold Roger, yeah.
Yeah.
Gold Roger, who's kickstarted the golden age
The
of piracy.
golden age of piracy. Yeah.
I left everything I own in one piece.
And that's why it's called One Piece. And you know, that first chapter ends with Luffy going off and punching the fish. Is that the first chapter?
Punch, yeah.
Gum
Like,
pistoling
my
the-
fist is Gomu no pistol. Bang. Oh, classic chapter. Let's break down the first chapter because there's a lot of imagery in that first chapter that to this day is still called back to and referenced.
Okay.
Even in the most recent episodes of the anime, even the most recent chapters of the manga, and the new movie that recently
I guess
came
a
out.
lot of that.
A lot of those.
I was going to say, I bet a lot of that is referencing Shanks' relationship with Luffy.
Shanks. Yes, a lot to kind of call back to who Shanks is, more details on his past, and of course the straw hat and the bet that he made with his arm that kicks it all off. Did you get anything big out of this first chapter? What were the key moments that stood out to you in terms of Luffy's? Because it is quite typical introductory stuff, but in a move that's different from a lot of shonen, we start with the protagonist being very young and then ending with them of age setting out on their journey.
Yeah.
In one chapter.
Yeah. There was a lot. There was a lot going on in that first chapter, which is why I think it's important we do spend a little bit of time on it. I think I really liked the way they built up the relationship of Shanks and Luffy. I like the way that Shanks was so. I like Shanks as a character. I think they illustrated well the different side of pirating. The way that, like, you know, you don't fight if you don't have to. You sort of you don't fight fair. Well, no, he doesn't. He doesn't fight in the first chapter, does he? He sort of lets the guy.
But
he doesn't fight back against the bandits that come in and sort of run riot, and he's sort of like, there's no point killing people over little things, and sort of has a bit of I'd say a moral compass to a certain extent. And I think Luffy idolizing him and having that questioned and seeing him want to become the king of the pirates is really nice. And the moment when Shanks then sort of establishes himself as Luffy's idol and sort of someone that he will always look up to because he saves him from the giant barracuda fish.
Sea King,
Sea King. And loses an arm in the process and is so chill about it.
I love that moment where he just looks at the Sea King and it's just like a close up of his eye, and the Sea King's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like swims away.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, he literally tells it to go away or something, and it does for some reason. Even though
it's just his sheer presence.
Yeah, I mean, he's already taken an arm though, so they're prime. They're prime for the reaping, really. But yeah, I really like the relationship, and it set up that that established relationship that can go on throughout the chapters and things, and be referenced back to. Is there anything else I missed? Or anything in particular that...
I would only say...
No.
The biggest moment is Shanks handing over the hat.
Yes,
that's the only other bit from...
Well, we get later on when that's... The attack is when Buggy cuts the hat, and...
Yeah.
And that's such a big thing. It goes absolutely
wild.
mental. Yeah. So we know the hat means a lot, and it's obviously iconic in the imagery and the sort of all of the artwork you see with Luffy. He has the hat. Although saying that, Oh no, he does have it. It's just hanging off the back.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Nami adds a thing to it, so it
Yeah.
hangs around his neck instead.
Yeah. So
Yeah, very good.
that first
Yeah,
chapter,
so
and he
first
eats the
chapter pretty
he eats
strong.
the he also eats the gum, not the gum fruit. The, what was it called? The
Yes, so in English it's called the gum fruit.
oh, it is. Okay.
In Japanese it's gomu gomu,
All right.
which
Okay.
means like rubbery, stretchy.
Right. So he eats that in the first chapter as well, and that's this added weird dynamic to the whole show that
Yeah, the
took a
power
bit of
system for
getting.
the show.
Sorry.
It's the power system for the show. You're going to meet a bunch of characters
Yeah.
who have got weird powers and they can't swim.
And they can't swim. Yeah, and so Luffy can now stretch and do all this stuff, but I don't
What a
know.
bizarre power for a protagonist to have.
It's so weird.
Oh, I'm made of rubber.
Yeah, and
Ooh.
that's the thing. Like, I think one of the big themes of this whole so far this story that I found difficult to sort of grasp, and as I've got to sort of chapter 25, I feel like I've got a better understanding. But there's
Okay.
such a shift in balance of dynamic. You've got on the one hand this jovial character that, and we'll talk about Luffy as well because him as a character has a lot to be, there's a lot to say about him. But he's
Captain, my captain.
sure, he is levity in a bundle. Like he doesn't take things too serious. I mean, he does have serious moments. I don't want to say that he doesn't, but he can't die for all intents and purposes in a lot of these things. You know, there's so many times they reference in this show how no one should survive that. No one could survive that, but he does because he's the protagonist, and they have to. And they're sort of almost he's made of rubber, but they're calling it out. You know, like
He's
no
been
one would
shot.
survive that.
He
But
just stretches.
he gets shot. He gets blasted with a cannon. He gets thrown through things. He gets knives fired at him, and he's almost invincible. And obviously he's not entirely, and we haven't got to a stage where he's been seriously injured yet, but everything bounces off him literally. And
Yeah.
on the flip side, we have a lot of sincere, deep moments that are quite sometimes dark, sometimes like the backstories to the characters, the sort of there's some really intense moments that emotional moments in these first 25 chapters that make you sort of question the style and genre of the show. So just trying
I think that's
to
something that
balance
One Piece manages to do consistently throughout its run is it can go from being the goofiest thing that you've ever seen to having some of the most heartfelt moments that you wouldn't expect from this cast of lovable dumbasses. I think aside from the first chapter, flipping between light-hearted Shanks and then his henchman shooting a guy point blank in the head, the next I think kind of big emotional moment I think that I can remember from those early chapters is the dog during the Buggy's town.
Yeah, okay. So I think that to me stands out massively. I think there is one before with Zolo's backstory.
Okay, so this is something we're gonna have to talk about.
Okay.
Zoro and Zolo.
All right. Okay.
Now, his name is Zoro,
All right.
but
Oh, is this the
because
R
of
and the L
licensing
thing from
issues-
Legoshi?
Well, it's kind of the R and the L thing, but also when One Piece first came to the West, they romanized his name as Zolo, and so in the manga, when they first started to, because the anime was coming out and the anime used Zolo, and the manga was like, well, people are going to come to the manga based off of the show airing on Cartoon Network and Toonami, so we need to match the names. They're going to be confused if it's Zoro in the manga.
Okay.
So ever since, even though the anime's now swapped back to using Zoro
All
in
right.
the new dub,
Right.
the manga has kept Zolo the entire way through.
Okay. Well,
which is remarkably frustrating for
is it?
lots of fans.
Okay. Right.
Because it's like it's almost a reminder of the 4Kids era of One Piece, but not to get too hung up on it, I'll probably keep saying Zoro.
Okay. I
You can use
will.
Zolo. That's fine.
Look, this is the first time I've ever said the name out loud, so I can say either. I think I'll be able to interchange them, but I am only going to be reading it as Zolo. But all right, we'll go with.
Yeah.
So is it then? So it's Zoro rather than Zorro. It's not the masked
Yeah, because
vigilante.
the Japanese sounds are Zoro.
Okay,
Zoro.
Zoro.
Yeah.
Okay, Zoro.
Zoro.
Okay,
Yeah.
whatever. Anyway, so his backstory is a bit of
Oh yeah, with the training
the
and
training.
the girl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That is brutal.
It is brutal, but she falls down the stairs
Stuff like that really hits me, man.
because it's
Like,
just so day to day. It just seems weird that she's
yeah,
this like
it's
phenomenally. It just seems a weird way to kill off a character that is known for being competent and
like the
like
best.
yeah, but best at something that requires a lot of dexterity and a lot of skill and a lot of sort of mobility, and then she falls down the stairs. It just seems like I don't know. So I feel like something.
Wasn't she ill as well? Wasn't she
Nah,
like she's
she
sick?
literally falls down the stairs.
That's okay. Maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
She literally, it's
But
like she falls down
again,
the
that
stairs.
kind of
She's
stuff.
dead. That's how the panels go.
Yeah. Ouch. Yeah, I guess for me it hits a lot. Again, like you said, it's the day to day. It's the mundaneness of the way that she goes, and it sets this whole thing up. His entire flashback is set up to be like this. She's the brightest star of the school. She's like the future of everything. He's Zoro's rival, and then it's just gone. And it's almost like his entire purpose kind of gets. He could go one of two ways, and it's kind of snuffed. But then he powers through it, and it's good. At this point in the story, Oda is kind of, because he's trying to rapid fire people into the crew and to kind of get the story going.
Right.
Those kind of flashbacks, he's still finding his footing with them.
Yeah.
Lots of characters will follow the same kind of pattern with One Piece, where they're introduced. Eventually, there is a pivotal moment. There'll be like a big flashback which explains how they got to where they are. Sometimes it's tragic, sometimes it's less so.
Yeah.
And then the plot keeps moving from the present day. And I think with Zoro, we see a very early template of some of Oda's best writing executed in an okay way.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I didn't. It reminded me of Yu Yu Hakusho when the protagonist dies, and because it's the bit on the funeral when like he breaks. Yeah. What's he called? Kuwabara comes back in and he's like distraught over the death of this rival, and it's like a very similar dynamic.
Yeah.
And he dies in a mundane way, and he's distraught because he promised that he would fight him, and blah blah blah. It's the same sort of situation. So it was I did sort of made me think of that.
Some good parallels.
Yeah, but I think the dog thing, that is. Yeah, that's the first one where it starts tugging at the heartstrings, and I'm fine with animal stuff. I know some people will find it really sort of heart wrenching to read that and to experience that, even though it is a cartoon dog and a drawing of a dog, and I think we get the whole. I think the worst bit, like the backstory of the dog. They do a backstory of the dog, and
we're getting flashbacks for the dog now. Boys.
Why are we flashbacking for the dog? You just need to give this character weight for this chapter,
so that it like emotionally damages everybody there.
So they flashback.
If it could correct me if I'm right, is it like the dog's owner left, and the dog keeps coming back to the store every single day? So it's similar to the tale of Hachiko from Tokyo and this wee Scottish dog that like kept coming to the train station, right? It's the idea that the dog is so loyal that even if the owner's gone and dead, they'll keep coming back again and again and again.
Yeah. It's that premise.
It just hurts.
It does. The guy went to hospital. The owner went to hospital and died in hospital, and the dog keeps coming and guarding the pet store which they owned. And there's some comments that I think it's from. I can't remember whoever they meet there says something like
the mayor.
The mayor, yeah. I think the dog knows that his owner's dead, but he keeps doing it anyway. And then,
And it's like,
but,
oh
but,
god.
but that's not even the killer. That's not even the killer, because the dog has a fight with the lion, and
Yeah.
goes to town with this lion. It just keeps getting up, and it gets battered and bruised. And then at the very end, it's when the guy on the lion, the absolute idiot, sets fire to the pet store, burns it down, and Luffy
Yeah.
brings the dog the last box, the only box he could save, and just puts it in front of the
Yeah.
dog, and the dog picks it up and carries it away. It's
Oh.
so brutal, man.
Dude, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm just
Bring back
tearing up
too
thinking
many
about it,
memories.
which is ridiculous. Like, it's just a
Oh.
drawing, and this never happened. Right. So anyway,
But that's why One Piece is so good, and that's why as a protagonist,
is that
even
the essence of it though? Is it that contrast that people love? That like levity and gun ho, fun pirating, swashbuckling sort of stuff, and then you've got this deep,
it's just
meaningful
the
story.
rawest, most emotional scene you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely, it is. And the author as well has gone on record to say, Oda, he always says, when I was a kid, all the manga that I read was really goofy,
Yeah.
and I want to bring that back.
Yeah.
But also, he's a really good storyteller, and he can do really good melodramatic moments that land and actually have heart to them.
Yeah.
And that's what's kept One Piece as one of the big three and one of the most popular manga for the past 25 years. Like, it's mental.
I think there's a third element though there as well. Like, you've got the goofiness, you've got the
Yep.
hard storytelling. The fight scenes I've actually been really impressed with as well. Like, especially the Gum Gum fights where Buggy and Luffy.
Yes, with his chop chop powers.
He's got his chop chop powers, and Luffy's got his Gum Gum powers. And we've said before about, like, we don't just want, generally, unless it's like Star Wars or whatever, we don't just want light beams firing at each other. You know, we don't just want
The
generic.
Dragon Ball effect.
Yeah, we want specific skill sets that they use to effect, and I think here they do, in One Piece, they do a really nice job of showing Luffy use his skills in different ways. Like, he uses it to get places with it when he climbs the tower, and he uses it to fight in different ways, and uses it to blow up and
He's got all these
absorb all the different ways he
he's got like the balloon.
Yeah.
He's got the rifle. He's got the pistol.
which I guess is
he's
the
got,
point
like,
when you design a character like that. He's got that versatility, but then to introduce Buggy as well, and you're like, wait, there's other fruits? Apparently no one's ever heard of these fruits, and in like 10 chapters we've got 2 people who have ate this fruit. So yeah, it's rare, it's really rare, but not that rare really.
Yeah, I mean, they allow for it later. At this point, they're still in the East Blue, I think they say that they're in.
Sure.
The ocean that they're in. And the goal is to head to the Grand Line
Yes, yeah.
to seek the One Piece. And so once they get to the main piratey area, it becomes more common. But at the moment, you could kind of say that this is basically out in the boonies. This is kind of your day-to-day.
Right,
This is where the
okay.
common people live.
Okay. Right. Is that one of the reasons why the Grand Line is so deadly? Because all the loads of them have these powers? Or is that spoilers?
Who's to say?
Okay, right.
It's a big line. It's grand, Will.
Yeah,
it's
that's
a
my
grand
prediction.
place for grand adventures.
Okay. My prediction of the week. Yeah. So,
What do you think of Luffy's ultimate move against Buggy? Testicle kick.
yeah, see that? It's good. It's funny. Like, he's split apart and his legs are stood there, and there's just a panel of like the legs there, and Luffy just sort of
He just kind of sees it and he's like,
just looking at it like, huh, there's an opportunity.
bang!
And then, like, later on, he tickles his feet. He's got one of his feet and he tickles his foot. And she, like, sits on his body and all of his limbs come together. There are some really common... And that's really thorough thinking through of the fight sequence. It's not just going with it. He's like,
my
right,
punch is bigger than yours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really thinking about the dynamic, and it's also like Buggy pops his head off to avoid one of Luffy's attacks, and that's like thinking of backstory, and maybe not necessarily backstory, but clearly this is something he's had to deal with in the past, and he's developed this technique for avoiding it. So it's not.
Hmm.
Yeah, it feels like he owns his powers. He's used it feels like a real character rather than just random. And we
Yeah,
get
he understands his skill set.
yeah, we also get the backstory to Buggy and Shanks,
Yes.
and that's
Yeah, they
interesting
were
as well.
buddies.
There's backstories for every single character, and I like that because
Welcome to Shonen.
yeah, I guess. Well, I don't think it's ever as explicit. I mean, we've watched a fair bit of anime now, but I don't know whether it's ever. I guess it
Yeah,
seems.
One Piece,
Yeah,
I guess, is a bit egregious with it because with One Piece, the world is so fleshed out. It's like Oda introduces a character and he wants almost every character he brings in to be somebody's favorite character.
okay,
So
yeah,
everybody needs a backstory. Everybody needs motivations. Everybody needs to use their powers in an interesting way, even if it's not like the coolest thing.
yeah,
Like, again, Luffy's made of rubber, but he somehow makes all these versatile ways for him to fight. Buggy can chop himself up, but he's found ways to make that meaningful in a fight. It's just everybody needs nuance to them,
yeah.
whether they're on the receiving end of the punch or they're the one doing the punching.
Yeah.
Everybody gets a flashback.
Yeah, and I think like with Zoro, Zoro, yeah,
Sorry, very good.
I think his backstory link like we what's really good about his story in general is they introduce him as this hard ass, like he's in prison, he's captive, and he's refusing to eat, he's strapped up, and he looks menacing as hell. And he's like, I'm never joining
Hunter Zoro.
Yeah, he's a pirate hunter, so he's never going to join Luffy's crew. And that's a nice dynamic that Luffy wears people down. I love that his character is infectious to everyone else. Everyone thinks he's an absolute idiot, and then they're like, this guy, I hate him,
but he's just so darn charismatic.
He's just a good guy, isn't he? Really. He's a lovable idiot. He's a lovable buffoon.
Nice.
And
he is.
The way he wears, because at the beginning, like when I revisited them, I was like, I forgot how much of a hard ass Zoro was when they first met him, and then because by the end he's like, yeah, that's just Luffy. He's like, just yeah, you get used to him.
That's my captain.
Yeah, that's my captain. Yeah. And he's
whatever.
It's just nice to see, and it's felt really natural, and you then see it with Nami or the girl
Nami. Yeah.
She again puts up this wall and is like, I'm never joining pirate crew, and she actually lashes back, and like you see it's a different way to Zoro. She fights, she sort of like she betrays him and gives him up and puts him in the cage, and then gets put in the cage and everything, and so she takes a lot more wearing down. So it's the same story but it's told differently, and it shows her character
over a longer time, and she dips in and out of the pair of them, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Like, she dips in and out away from Luffy, like because they meet initially on that first pirate ship with Kobe, and then she comes back in the town and she's like, "Oh yeah, I remember you. You're like strong guy." So she's using him, and that kind of tells you a lot about her character.
And she doesn't even really come back on board until the bit with the dog and the box of dog food.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think isn't the only reason that she joins them after the buggy fight is because they're heading in the same direction, and she's like, okay, I'll help you two idiots get where you need to go.
Yeah, maybe. I think so. Yeah, I mean, she's a navigator. I think she has warmed to him. I think she's maybe using that as a bit of an excuse. I think the insinuation is she likes them and she's happy to sort of team up.
She fixes his hat.
She fixes his hat and then he pokes it through like straight away. And
then she just like belts it.
Yeah.
Nami's strongest character confirmed. Has Zoro got lost yet where you are?
I don't think so. When does he get lost? Okay. I mean, there's a bit when Luffy gets picked up by a bird, or he gets caught in a bird's mouth.
Oh my god, yeah.
And dropped off at the island. And that's when Luffy's Zoro's just on the boat by himself. And yeah. And he's like, "Have you found my friend? Have you seen my friend?
Have you seen my friend? A big bird carried him here. Please help me."
And I looked at that and I was like, "This is ridiculous. This is such a ridiculous frame. Like, how is and it's clearly just no unapologetically just like we need him to get here. What's the stupidest and most ridiculous way we can separate these two? And they're just fine with that. And why not? I guess. Yeah, it's fun. Another sort of emotional bit is when they find the island with Gaiman on. The dude who's been abandoned for 20 years by his crew, and he lives in a barrel, and he's stuck in a barrel,
chest or whatever, right?
Stuck in a chest or a barrel or something, and then it's all to protect because he wants the chest of gold on the ridge on the hill, and then Luffy goes up, and it's just that he's like, oh, bring the I found the chests, and he's like, bring it down, and he's like, no. And
I don't think I will.
And Nami's like, what are you doing, you idiot? Bring them down. And Gaiman's just like, oh, it's okay, mate. I get it. I sort of thought this was the case, and they're all empty, and it's heartbreaking. And he decides to stay there anyway, which is a weird... And that's when there is a bit of me that's just... And I can see it's going to go this way, and you've sort of hinted at it anyway, a bit of just the next monster, the monster of the week sort of vibe. Like, that was a one-off episode. Yes, it was quite a nice story. And it was the only...
Did that one last multiple chapters?
No.
Was that just the one chapter?
Just the one chapter. After that, they go... They land on the island looking for food and meet up with Usopp.
Yes, Usopp.
Usopp.
Very nice. Yeah, I mean, that's a bit of an anomaly. There are only, I guess, a few... In fact, I'd go so far to say that's one of the only kind of one-off chapter adventures that they really do in One Piece. A lot of the time, there are some arcs that can feel a little bit fillery.
Yeah.
But in general, an arc that you're very, very close to, I think it's maybe the next arc after Usopp's Island.
Okay.
That's basically when the story's kind of like, okay, we're locked in. We understand... Oh no, it's the arc after the arc that you've got. After that, yeah.
Okay.
That's when... So a lot of people say, once you hit this arc,
yeah,
and if you've stuck with One Piece up until this point...
Okay.
I'll say the name of the arc, because, like, arc names mean nothing.
Yeah.
Once you get to Arlong Park, if you can make it to Arlong Park, and that arc clicks for you, then One Piece is basically for you. If you get to Arlong Park and you're still kind of like, well, we'll see, then the themes of the story...
When you say get to it...
There's a lot of good stuff.
When you say get to it, do I need to read that arc, or is it up to that point?
Yeah, that arc is...
Okay. Oh, we'll see.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I'll look out for it.
And we will. So the stuff with like Gaiman, that doesn't really happen again. It's, again, this is the manga finding its footing. At that point, it's only maybe 10, 15 chapters in.
Yeah. And
it's just a way for Oda to kind of stall for time whilst he kind of gets the next arc, all the pieces ready in his head.
Fair enough. I mean...
What did you think of Usopp?
Yeah, so that's the big... So we're halfway through that arc at the minute, I think. Oh, well, I don't know if it's halfway or a tenth of the way. But we're 4 chapters in to that. I don't know. It's an unusual one. We sort of... I think the characters they introduce are quite interesting and quite nice. It's sort of almost fairy tale-esque with this woman who is ill and can't leave, and the butler's a bit manipulative and a bit sort of snobbish and seems like he wants to protect her, but also looks very evil and is drawn very sinister.
Yeah.
And we have Usopp. Is Usopp Usopp's the kid.
He's the one with the long nose.
Yeah, yeah. We know that his dad was a pirate that Luffy met.
Yes, he's part of Shanks's crew.
Part of Shanks's crew, and yeah, there's some really nice wholesomeness to that story. But we finish on the end of chapter 25 with the most convenient plot point ever, where Luffy and Usopp are listening to the butler and the talk to Django the hypnotist, and they're plotting murder Miss Kaya or whatever it is. Like they literally call it
Kill Kaya,
Operation Kill Miss Kaya or Murder Miss Kaya or something like that. It's like, and they just happen to be listening.
It was 1998, dude. We didn't have cool code names for things.
I mean, does it need a code name? Just don't. I mean, it doesn't need a
Yeah,
code name if you're going to call it that. That is literally the point of a code name, is so
that
you
is just the
don't know what you're
name,
going to
name
do.
of the operation. What if they were just planning, I don't know, tax evasion?
Yeah,
a
they call it
crime much
murder, and
worse than
it's
murder.
actually like tax evasion or something. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's the where we leave it, and that was a bit sort of on the nose, but I guess that's the levity, the jokey side of the show. Um, not necessarily, not necessarily. I don't know. It's a bit. It seems just a bit weird, a bit sort of cheap to sort of have them be listening to that secret conversation, and for them to explain their evil plan, or at least hint at it.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be twists down the line.
And that comes with the territory. Again, early doors. It's at that point they've been on the island for 5 chapters and nobody's punched anything. So we need to start getting the ball rolling. This is Battle Shonen. Like at this point, I think there was still lots of other fighting shonen in the magazine when One Piece started airing. I think maybe even Dragon Ball was still maybe going.
Right.
If not, at the very least, it was still very much in the zeitgeist. The anime was definitely starting at that point, and yeah, like especially in the early 2000s, if there wasn't a big fight happening, or if there wasn't like a massive ground-shaking reveal happening, often series would start to dwindle in popularity and never like take off. So, unfortunately, the writing at this point is at the expense of that, and Oda, as he's developed as an artist, definitely has found the magic middle ground of, what if I just punch, and whilst I'm punching, I exposit stuff instead?
Right.
Genius.
Okay. Well, I think that about wraps up my thought process for the first 25 chapters of One Piece. I think.
Okay.
I'm still.
What would you say was your favourite moment so far? What's been your standout moment of the first 25 chapters?
The standout moment is the fight with Buggy and the dog scene, I think, and the initial scene with Shanks. I mean,
so you say the first chapter and then the Buggy arc.
Yeah.
In all, would be the best.
Yeah.
I think that lands about with the rest of the community as well.
Okay.
To be honest, I think most people who think back to early One Piece, we all think about Shanks because.
I mean, the Buggy arc is the
to
longest thing by far in these. Like, I'm looking at my notes, and it takes up like 15 chapters. 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a long arc.
It's got more chance for it to actually tell a complete story as well.
Yeah, and it's going to have more lasting
impact. Even the stuff with Zoro is. It's good, but it's just an excuse to get him on the team so that he's ready to start fighting against the henchmen.
Yeah.
Once it gets to the Buggy arc, so yeah, I'm glad that the dog scene resonated with you because that's a lot of where a lot of fans kind of really get on board with Luffy as a character because even if he's a lovable dumbass, he still knows. Oh, this creature in front of me is upset.
He's reckless as anything.
Try and make him less upset. Yeah, and reckless. Dumb as to, like, if we were to compare his IQ, it's like his fighting IQ, light Yagami.
Yeah.
His general IQ, Patrick Star. Like, there's no in between.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, in an anime or in a manga, it's fun and it's entertaining. In real life, I would have serious issues with this character because he puts people at risk a lot. He starts fights. He speaks his mind far too easily that like gets them in so much trouble. And like when he starts the whole fight with one of the the general dude with the sword with the axe for the arm.
Oh, Captain Morgan.
Yeah. He starts the fight with that because he slingshots himself onto the roof and pulls down his statue, and he's like, right, because he wasn't going to get involved. I've forgotten his name, Captain Morgan, the spiced rum.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
The very same.
So spiced rum wasn't going to get involved because his son had the issue with them all, and he was like, no, you fight your own fights. And then Luffy pings himself up, brings down his statue, and he's like, right. Now I'm on it, and it's like you made your bed. Kind of don't really feel bad for you, but so my overall
something that would be really interesting.
Oh, go on.
Just before your overall final thoughts, you said about Luffy speaking his mind way too much.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out Because as far as I'm aware, and I could be wrong, Luffy never has a thought bubble in the whole series. Other characters will have internal dialogue
Yeah.
the whole time, but Luffy is just there is so little of a filter
He has no inner
that
monologue.
he's if he's thinking something in his brain, his
Yeah.
mouth is also saying it.
Yeah. Okay.
Like that is
I'll
the
keep
kind
an
of
eye
character
out.
who Luffy
See
is.
if I
And
can
I'd
spot
be
him.
interested to see if
Yeah.
you can spot
Okay.
him. Very nice.
Okay.
So overall, then, One Piece chapters 1 to 25.
1 to 25. Really enjoy the characters. I like the depth and the growth that they have and the backstories. I think they're interesting. They're all different. The plot is... I'm a bit scared it's going to be Avatar Book 1 in that it's just going to be a bit of bouncing around, never really finding a place to land and sort of set up shop and build a real narrative. However...
Ooh.
What? You just say...
No, I keep going. I'm excited.
However, I think there's enough there for me to keep going for the time being. Luffy, like I say, is a lovable idiot, and the deep, the emotional moments of the show, at the minute, have really landed. I'm hoping they don't do them just for effect and randomly, like that sort of just to pull at the heartstrings with no other purpose. Because it sounds like you say there's lots of those moments to come. I'm hoping they don't just put them in randomly, but I'm excited to see where it goes.
Chapters.
What? The what?
There's 1,000 chapters. If I'm sprinkling these like throughout 1,000 chapters, you've got time to reset between.
I guess. I just want. I don't want it to be sort of out of context.
You don't want it to be cheapened.
And yeah, I don't want it to be cheapened and sort of be so obviously just there to pull at the heartstrings with no real. Just. Do you know what I mean? Like you can tell the author's just gone right. We need a heartfelt moment. Someone come up with something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I'm excited to see where it goes, and we'll look at the next. Maybe 25. I'll see. I'll read a bit and see when the next.
So we'll see how much you go for. If you find yourself halfway through an arc,
yeah,
and you want to power through the rest of that, go for it.
Or if there's like a roundup sooner than that, maybe we'll come back then. But whatever. We'll
of course.
Any lasting thoughts before we wrap up, or do you want to just leave it
there? Yeah, no, just really excited that you're starting out on this journey and that you're enjoying bits of it so far. Like One Piece, especially more recently, has come back into the public zeitgeist in a really big way.
Yeah.
Lots of really prolific content creators and influencers are starting to catch up to One Piece, especially because the anime is so good at the moment and the manga has entered its final arc. Like there's this huge getting on board with One Piece now, and it's about to become the best-selling comic of all time.
Okay.
It's already beaten Batman, and it's only got Superman yet to beat.
Wow.
And they had a 60-year head start, so...
Fair.
One Piece is here, baby, and we're getting as many people in as we can.
Okay, cool. All right, well, seems like a good time for me to jump on board, so we'll see where it goes.
Definitely.
All right.
Nice one.
We'll see you later, and take care.
See ya.
Bye.